Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. My name is Mark Pavlich, and in the Grove, the star of the show, the big sexy, the one and only Jesse Martineau.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's good to see you. There he is, Antonio McKee joining us live right now. We'll be right back after the break with Antonio McKee.
Mandingo.
Oh, yeah.
Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau. Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. My name is Mark Pavlich. Across the way in the Grove, that's the big sexy Jesse Martineau. And our special guest today, everybody, a dear friend of mine from back in the day, MMA royalty, Antonio McKee.
What's up, Mark? How you guys doing today?
Hey, we're doing great. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. You know, it's always a pleasure to talk.
It is a pleasure to talk. And you know, and Mark and I talk a lot, but fortunately we get to hear you talk tonight. And let me just set this up, because Mark has been calling me every single day. Since you said yes, you're going to come on the show. Mark has called me every day and said, get ready.
Yeah, be awake.
Because Antonio, he's not messing around here. You got to be on your toes with. So we're excited to have you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us. And, you know, we have a lot of questions for you, but I'm going to let Mark kind of introduce, because you guys have known each other for a long time.
Well,
you know, Mark made me sexy.
I did. But listen, we'll get to that. But you know what's crazy? I do a lot of research on the show, and most people don't know that, but Jesse knows that. Jesse goes by the vibe of the show. I go by research. And there's a lot of things that I didn't know about you when I started to go in deep. You know what I mean? And what I want to talk about first is, how does a kid from Las Vegas, Nevada, you were born in Las Vegas? No, you were not born.
Wrong. I was born in Nashville. I was born in Dayton, Ohio.
Why do they say that, though? When you go
Somebody did my Wikipedia. I don't know who did that. But
there's multiple places said that you were born in Las Vegas.
Yeah, they're probably just ripping it off the Wikipedia now.
And I'm like, he wasn't born in, because I know you, right? And I was like, I thought for sure you were born in somewhere like Tennessee or Nashville.
I was born in Dayton, Ohio, moved to Nashville, Tennessee with family. And then from there, Georgia, Atlanta, Mississippi, California. Like, my mom was trying to be an entertainer.
And your mom was like a traveling entertainer.
Yeah, but I was a problem child, so I didn't get a chance to have the privilege to be with her, because I was getting in a lot of trouble, and I had to be placed in a mental hospital and a boys' home and a private school for disturbed kids.
What did they think that was? What did they think that they didn't even know what that was back in the day, right?
Well, what it was I was really an intelligent kid, but I grew up in the hood. I didn't understand or fit in the hood, but at the same time, when I was bused to a all-white Jewish school where the intellect was stimulating to me, I didn't have mannerisms of that type of education. I was a hood black man. You know what I mean? Hood ghetto. And so I didn't know how to study. I was a distraction because I was only one of probably thousands of other Europeans, Caucasians, Jews. I was the only black kid. I had nappy hair. I was dark. I looked like buckwheat, and I was made fun of. So I resorted to fighting all the time and just trying to defend that part about me because I didn't understand. And then when I lived in the neighborhood, because I was, growing up in a struggling lifestyle, I grew up in the hood, and I was different. I wasn't hood. Yeah. I wasn't thug. So now I'm a weirdo in the ghetto. So naturally, after I beat up a bunch of those guys, it came down to guns and violence at that point, to where now I'm carrying a gun everywhere I go. I'm in and out of jail. Just the lifestyle was just so different. And then, I met some great white guys that saw that I had a good athletic ability to wrestle. I started wrestling immediately within a year. I was a state champ within 2 years. I had won 2 state titles by the time I was in my 3rd year. I won it at high school, state. Then I won it 2 more years in college. I mean, I showed the ability to be a hell of a wrestler. Unfortunately, still, I hadn't matured as a human yet. I was still functioning, operating on this ghetto mentality, survival of the fittest. I always got to watch out, watch my bag, be ready for the dulo. I still hadn't graduated thuggism. I call it thuggism.
Yeah, thuggism.
How old were you at this point?
Wait, so you went wrestling. This is something I did find out. One of your seasons, you went 61-0.
That was in college.
In college, like that's obscene. Like that's
I was a 2-time.
Yeah, that's right.
State champion, the only wrestler to ever go undefeated 2 years in a row.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
Which school was
in
that?
In California, that's really difficult to do.
In California, difficult. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're going. So how old were you at this point when you're still like trying to figure out, like 21 years old, trying to figure out who you are?
I think I started to mature. I think I started to mature around 2021, but that was just maturity of understanding who I was and what I was capable of. And by that time, I was so beat up and just ran through the mud with wrestling and how I was being treated as different. I was on Olympic prospect level. I had beat the state champion, the actual Olympian, John Smith. I beat him in an exhibition match, but I was a hood dude. I didn't understand the grooming. I didn't understand the
politics of it all.
Politics, the discipline. So I would lash out at that racial stuff.
Right.
A lot of racial tension in wrestling that I didn't understand because I was black. I never understood it until I started coaching it. And of course, then you go, oh, this is what this was about.
What is it about? Like, explain that for us.
Well, for example, I wrestled in CIF. I'm wrestling against the CIF #1 seed. I'm not even seeded. I'm beating him 8-0. They cautioned me out of a match, raise my hand in front of everybody, go in the back, tell the coaches we have to DQ Antonio McKee for too many cautions, and he's not going to be able to go unless that kid carries him. So they took the loss, gave it on me, made everybody think I won. Then the guy that I was competing against lost in the 2nd round, and he has to carry me into the finals. And he lost, so that put me out when I should have won the state championship that year.
Wow.
So it was a lot of that. And then, you're up north, good old boy system. And as a black kid, low income, I had raggedy wrestling shoes with gray duct tape wrapped around them, which my coach gave them to me. And it was more like, I honored those shoes, so I never bought new ones. I was just ghetto, jerry curl. I didn't fit in at the skill level that I was at. And so then I got treated different. But, we've watched this happen with Kenny Monday, who's a gold medalist, the first gold medalist.
That's right.
Who was wrestling against Dave Schultz.
That's
and he beat Dave Schultz, and they made him wrestle 3 times. John Smith, Fisher, made him wrestle. It's a lot of that going on, but, a lot of it's not even talked about because, for one, it shames the athlete. 2, whoever agrees with it is out of content.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So if you do it all over again right now, so if I'm saying to you now, Antonio, you get to do things over, okay? Just today on the Me and Jesse podcast. What do you think you would tell yourself now? Like, you're looking back and going, like, between the wrestling and the MMA, the combination of the two, what would have you done differently to even go farther than you did go really far, but to go even further, like to take it to the next level. Like what I'm really saying is, how would have you played the game differently? You know what I mean? Because there was a game going on, right?
Yeah, but I didn't know there was a game. That was the problem.
But that's
right. But now you do.
Now you do. So what would you have told yourself?
So what I would have did then is I would have signed to a really good white manager that had a great relationship with Dana White, and then establish a line of communication of exactly what they wanted from me, because I was so good, I could do what I did and no one could stop it. But everybody knows that. It's not some, I heard. No, it's true. I went 3 different weight classes and no one could handle it. In my 30s, I could run through a fire with gasoline draws on without a fire hose. I mean, I was hot. You know, I would find a good white manager to represent me, preferably a good Jewish manager because he could be my attorney as well. And then I would play the game, and I would do more striking and more stand-up so I could have got more attention, because everything else I had is just I didn't have the order and when to do it. Even when I fought for Mark, I had no idea that, you know, these things were being said about me about the networks. So when Guy Metzger lashed out at me, Bosch Roux lashed out at me, look, this is a business. I understand it's about being professional. It's also about being entertaining and exciting. Right. Pull me to the side, talk to me. Hey, we need this out of you. We need that out of you. We need you to finish these fights. Hey, Mark, I need a $5,000 bonus. I'll finish everybody in the first round. When I made that deal, I finished the guy in the first round. The one when I didn't make weight, I said, Mark, this is going to be the most exciting fight you've ever seen me have. I went out there and put on a great show.
But don't forget, we knew that, though. We knew going into that the UFC said they were never going to put Antonio McKee in the UFC. And you said that to me, and I said, Antonio, for sure I can get you to the UFC. I know how to do this. And you said, what do I need to do? And I said, there's a guy, the only guy to ever beat Jose Aldo. I found him. The only guy at that time, Jesse, there was only one person to ever beat Jose Aldo. I flew him from Brazil, and I said, Antonio, you got to ass whoop this guy. Not just beat him. Don't squeeze out a decision. Kick the living shit out of him. What does Antonio McKee go do? He goes and kicks the shit out of Acevedo. I mean, this like he stole some shit from him, okay? And what happens the next day? My phone rings. Mark, we want Antonio McKee in the UFC. Now, you know,
is this part where how he made you sexy come in?
No, I was already sexy, but he danced it up, you know.
But the point was, when you know someone has the talent inside them and someone has the drive, and sometimes you understand, like, no matter how much Antonio wants to talk and tell you this, one thing I do know is I used to think he was crazy. Then I figured out something totally different. He wasn't crazy. I'm going to say it on the show today. He's a fucking genius. Okay? You are, Antonio.
Mark, that's what they labeled me in the mental hospital.
I know they did, because you know why I know? Because I know how you do things. Listen, I'll break the news to everybody on the show. I hate using profanity on the show, but I have to, because it only makes sense during these times. Do you understand? Like, when he told me years and years ago, he said, Mark, my son AJ is going to be the best fighter. We didn't know what weight class he was going to be at that time, but he said he's going to be the best fighter in the world, Mark. And what do you think I say? I think to myself, well, he's a proud dad. He's telling me, my son's a good hockey player. He's going to be in the NHL. My son's a good, he's good. So he told me this, and he looked me in the eye, and I never seen a guy so convinced of something. It was almost bizarre. He looked at me and he said, Mark, he's going to be the best fighter in the world. So time goes on. Here
we are.
He is. He's the best. Listen to me. I repeat, easily the best 145er on the planet. Listen to me this. Again, maybe even the best 155er on the planet. We don't know yet. But the best 145er all day long. You know what's funny now? I see Antonio in his world-famous gym, the BodyShop, with his grandson.
No, that's my son. That's my new son.
Oh, wait a second. That's right.
That's your son.
No, that's your son.
Okay.
That's right. I made that was a Freudian slip. You know, it's funny. His son, what's he doing? He's got his son, the best 145er in the planet. And listen, you know what's funny? Everybody, when I said that, when I had him on our show, AJ, people shit all over me. They're like, oh, Pav. I go, listen, shut up. there's things I know about that most people don't know about, and this is it, MMA. And you know what's funny? He's the best 145er on the planet. You know why? Volkanovski, all these other guys, they're good fighters. They're really good fighters. The difference is you're finger painting while you have Picasso over here. You're finger painting, guys. And because he moves differently, he does things differently. And his father taught him that because his dad used to kick the shit out of him in the gym. He used to tell me about it. His dad told me he used to spar with Quentin Jackson. I said, how old's your son, Antonio? He's like, oh, Mark, he's like 14 or 15 years old. He's sparring with Quentin Jackson. Then old fighter in the MFC, great guy, Emmanuel Newton, said, Mark, this kid, there's something not like he's something special. Like it's beyond special. So now we see, if you go on Antonio's Instagram, which I encourage everybody to go on Antonio's Instagram, and you see Antonio's current son wrestling with the little one. Like he's little. Like how old is your son? Your other son?
He's 4 years old.
Yeah. So you understand what's happening right now.
Yeah.
We're
well, that's my question.
We're talking about on the show right now.
Have you figured out how to make champions?
I think I was a champion, and it's very rare that you have a fighter that's a champion that can create. But MMA is so new, and so many people have such attitudes about what to teach, what not to teach. What I did is I accepted in the very beginning that I need to be the best wrestler, but the best wrestler in MMA because it's a different level of wrestling. Once I broke it down, I was able to teach my kids the threat. The threat is a great wrestler. I don't care how good your kickboxing or your boxing. The threat is a wrestler. When you hit the ground, what do I do? How the fuck do I get up? Excuse my language. How do I get up? If you felt the pressure that I put on, the pressure Khabib, I got a chance to roll with Khabib. So I got a chance to feel myself, and I go, wow, it's impressive. The first thing I taught him was how to beat me. Right. Because I was, in my time, they can say what they want. I'll fight right now because I'm a fighter till the day I die. I did not lose. And so I taught and kept that same mindset, that same concept, but I broke it down in pieces. And I started putting them together. And you see, it's funny, we talk about this. This is what my job is. I want to show you guys what I do. Like, I have a book. This is, can you see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is about movement. These are stick men. Look, these are all different angles. When to strike, when to move, how to move, what angles, what combos, what punches are there. I'm writing a book on it. I'm way light years ahead of everybody. And this is why AJ is so smooth.
That's
Everything
crazy.
slows down in slow motion for him.
Yeah.
The things that we do to train, if you even had the slightest idea, you would send me every fighter that you want to be good. I will make that fighter so fast and invisible when he punches and out of the way off angles that it would put a shame to Conor McGregor's conversation. Yeah. Like, I'm that far ahead. But it took being humble with no ego and being my own enemy to beat myself. Speed, power, and timing.
Yeah.
A lot of black athletes, and people get upset when I talk to black, white, but I don't give a crap because genetically we are different. The cellular level of a black man is much different. The hemoglobin is much different from a male black than a white or European. And when you understand how hemoglobin works, that's the oxygen that's generated in the body and how it functions. So most Africans have low hemoglobin over here in America. So that's why they get tired. So I created drills. I have suits to train my athletes in that just takes them on a whole nother journey of excellence. And when you see AJ, that's why you see somebody that has literally walked through everybody without getting touched.
Now, how can we do this, though? Why is your son not talked about more? And what is going on with Bellator right now? Because I've always said this to you, and I've said this to you before. I don't care. Scott Coker is easily the worst promoter on the planet. and like he's a nice person.
It's different though, but this is a
he's
business.
A nice person. Yeah. I go play golf with him or whatever. But if I had a problem sleeping at night, I'd call him on the phone because he put me to sleep immediately. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is he has your son under contract right now, which has to be an absolute nightmare for you because your son has the word 100 million tattooed to the front of his forehead at the rate he could go at. And right now there's nothing. No, there's no talk about him. There's no nothing on the grand scheme of things when there should be.
Well, again, a lot of this has to do with management, and you know as well as I know that if you're not playing with the A team, you're playing with the B team. If you're playing with the B team, then you're handed a different rule book.
Correct.
So me being his father, managing him, one of the things that I am is I'm really smart. I understand the fight game. I understand how it works. It's not about the contract. It's about the relationship. Once you have the relationship, now it's how do we work together as a team? If, like Mark said about Scott Coker, great guy, amazing guy.
Yes, he
But
is.
when you start talking about promotion, fighter, bringing awareness, attention, that's not one of Scott's big things. But yet he does start the best fighters in the world off. He's just a good guy. He's not a you. He's not a me. He's not a Dana White or
Correct.
what's the guy from WWF?
Vince McMahon. Yeah.
And you need that. You need that controversy as a promoter. And that's one of the things that he's lacking. But what I did is I've worked the deal out to where, you know what, it'll be my responsibility to build my son on that platform. It's my job to go reach to Joe Rogan. A lot of these management companies, they don't know shit about management.
How is that even possible that your son, like, everybody knows what I know now. Everybody knows now, right? But it's weird. It's weird how even like Joe Rogan hasn't put him on his podcast or these other things, because it's really strange. Like, I saw Ariel Helwani did something with him recently, which is good, but you need that whole train to keep going, like, on a constant basis, because this kid is not just special. Like, I don't want to, like, when I saw the altercation with Nate Diaz and your son, I thought that was hilarious. Like, do you understand? Like, people that are that really know, like, no offense to Nate or Nick or whatever the case may be, I get it. They're thugs, right? But me and you know different, right?
Right.
But what I'm trying to tell you is, do they not even realize how easy it would be for your son to fight Nate Diaz? Like, it's not even on. It's like, I know it's a money fight. I know it's this, that, but your son, it would be comical. Like
he would knock him out.
He'd knock him out. Yeah, 100%.
Here's the thing. This is why I talked about a fighters union and unionizing these belts. Is that you have this one particular organization that is the boss, right? It's like the NBA or the NFL of the fight. That's the UFC. We all know that.
Yeah.
I think we need to open it up and unify these belts and let other promotions also be able to take this champion and put it against this champion and say, this is pound for pound the best fighter.
Well, it makes it more exciting. Like, for
Do
sure.
you have to unionize all the fighters then?
I think what's starting to happen, and I don't know if this is just a color issue or is it just a coincidence, but if you notice, a lot of the Afro-American fighters in the UFC don't want to fight. Why? Because they're not being paid.
Yeah.
So to me, it's modern slavery. When you have a guy like Francis Ngannou that fights for $500,000, he's the champ heavyweight of the world.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yet you have a guy like Conor McGregor who's never won a fight in 5 years, making more money than any. I understand marketability. I understand what he's doing, but at the same time, you also can build Francis Ngannou on that card and cut him in on some of the action.
Of course, that's a good point.
Of course.
Like, I'm a promoter too, so I understand. I get it. You need that entertainment. You need that mouthpiece. Hey, that's fine. You make that guy. But when you are making 80% of the proceeds, when it's actually completely the opposite on normal, at least Bellator, they pay out, I think, about 46%. The UFC is anywhere between 13 to 20%, if you're lucky. And a lot of those monies go on backdoor bonuses. No one's going to say anything because this is how they make a living. But I think I'll be able to do something about that, because I have, honestly, my son it sucks because he's my son, but what if his last name was Couture?
Right.
Yeah.
What if his last name was Gracie?
Yeah.
What if his last name
you're
was
right. Yeah.
Liddell?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What if he was white? These are all the things that I think about, not bringing color into it, but I ask myself, why is he not recognized? It took 18 fights and he demolished everybody, and no one wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So, the marketability you mentioned, and again, it's a valid point, but back in the day, like, we had like the Don Kings that did that job for people, right? Like,
correct.
Should the promotion not be promoting the fight and not leave it up to the fighters anymore?
Well, I think the promotion, when it has that type of talent, needs to get behind the talent.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you
and be
can
the
see-
ones on shouting it.
Yeah, you can see the difference between a A fighter and a B fighter.
Yeah.
And then you can see a guy like Pretty Boy Taylor, who's got a hell of a mouthpiece on him, and then he goes and makes more money than most fighters
Yeah.
would make in 2 or 3 years in one fight because he's a sparring dummy, or he's the type of person that just talks a good talk, so it's easy to beat him. Like, when you mess with a guy out of the body shop, I am a promoter's nightmare because all my guys are going to be tough and they're going to be exciting. And you just got to say, do we really want to deal with McKee?
Not
Do we really
not
wanna deal
now.
with guys?
Not now. Maybe later when we have to, but not right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what happens.
But that's what I think more and more people are realizing the politics behind this stuff and getting pissed off about it. But what does it take to actually bring change to a juggernaut like the UFC is?
It takes the fighters and it takes the government. But when you're receiving payouts from the promotion and you're the government, you put it on the back of your calendar because you're making money. And you'll make way more money this way than you will the other way. So again, like I said, I've seen things where I'm at the city hall and we're in Sacramento and we're just trying to push a fighters union, and I see a guy come in and write a check for $80,000, and they put that shit on the back burner like, we'll deal with this later. They thought we were Oscar De La Hoya. No, we're MMA. They go, what do you guys want? I'm like, what do you mean? You guys don't even know we're on the calendar? Like,
wow.
but you knew that check was coming.
Crazy.
Wow.
No disrespect to those who are empowered to do so. But at what point do you say, look, we've made enough. Let's do what's right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Man, oh man.
What happened? What happened with that though? What happened with the Nate and your son? What happened in that scenario? Because people could say all this bullshit, but we want to know because I'm pretty sure you knew exactly what happened.
Okay, there was a reason why we had so many people there.
Yeah.
Because when Pretty Boy goes to fight, he likes to talk. He's a promoter of himself.
Yeah.
And he doesn't take in the responsibilities of others that are around him that don't play those games.
Yeah.
Nick and Nate, they see me. They know how I get out. So,
yeah.
You don't see any of that. But, again, it's also about the fight game and promotion. Nate and Nick Diaz are not thugs. They're not some Mexican gangsters. They're not that. No. These guys are just hardcore good fighters. They're great. My son, in fact, that was his favorite fighter was Nate. But my point is when it gets to a level of disrespect and you start throwing out threats and we start getting deaf, that's a different game, bro. I walked that walk, and I don't want to ever go down that road again because if I do, I don't think I can come back to reality.
Yeah.
So, basically, they got to exchange some words. Pretty Boy said something. It's not Nick or Nate. It's his little groupies.
Yeah.
It's the little groupies that are trying to be tough. And so when that groupie stood up, he stood up to the wrong street dude, and that dude about the business. It could have got really ugly, but it would have been obvious, and I had to talk him out of it. He wanted to do some stuff that would have just put him in jail. I'm like, look, think about it. You're going to end up in jail, and once you end up in jail, this is what's the outcome going to be. Yeah, you might stab him, you might kill him, but what are you going to benefit?
Right.
To prove a point that you were tough? To prove a point don't fuck with the body shop? We don't need that.
No.
What we need is to be professional. Let's handle it in the ring.
Yeah. That's wisdom. But
other than that, we'll get to some street shit. And trust me, these guys nowadays, they don't want to play the game that I lived. That's a whole animal.
Yeah.
Now, what was there? I mean, obviously, who were the people that helped you find your way through that really tough time that you mentioned when you were younger?
When at first it started out with my aunt. My aunt took me in at like 4 years old. I was extremely violent, getting in trouble, threats, school. Just I couldn't get it together. So then they placed me into a boys program.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the boys program, I met real guys with real problems. Didn't have moms and dads, didn't have family support. And immediately I went right to work. I caught my first stabbing. And that was like, now I'm a threat to people. So now I'm put in for psychiatric evaluation. They diagnosed me as being extremely intelligent. I didn't even know I was smart. I didn't even know, I didn't understand the things that they were putting to my brain, asking me questions. And then they would give me these things, and they would tell me to build something. They would show me. I remember this like yesterday. They would show me cards, and then they would say, well, what do you see with these cards? And I was just so different. And so they said the kid is really, really intelligent, and we need to figure out where his intelligence is. What is he engineering? Is he an inventor, a builder? Like, where is his knowledge? Because I was saying some really weird shit. Spiritual.
Okay.
Talking about the voices in my head. It was only one voice telling me what was going on, telling me not to talk to them, telling me, oh, that's over there. And, you know, this is why now I go back to being a man of God, and I found the spiritual level, and it's real because, I mean, what did I experience? What am I doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we may have been brainwashed and told that it was the white Jesus, it's God, it's Allah, it's Yahweh. I don't care about religion. I think religion sucks. But I think the relationship that you have on a spiritual level that you connect with, that's your relationship with God. And there is no religion. Not in one part of the Bible does it talk about a religion.
Right.
It talks about a relationship and a spiritual relationship and the growth of receiving the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. And I didn't even know that that's in the Bible. But once that happened.
How old were you then?
This was... I've been baptized 3 times. The third time was probably about 3 years ago, where I received the Holy Spirit. I've been baptized. One, I thought I was going to die because I was murdering and killing and robbing. The second time I was a womanizer. I was trying to just get my life together, save my kids, save myself. The third time is because I realized I had a problem, and I just need to give this to God. God, if you are real, get rid of this, please. Step into me. Let me feel what they're telling me is real. And boy, when that spirit hit me and my eyes went back, I don't drink or smoke. So I'm consciously going through this.
Yeah, that's right.
So then I'm asking myself, am I crazy? Am I really whacked out? But then when I started speaking another language, and I remember like yesterday, I was like, I was like, what the? But it was like an African, like my ancestors were African. And I'm like, and I'm like, what the? And I'm actually in the church, on the floor, passed out, crying, laughing, crying. Man,
yes.
all I can tell you is anybody that wants to tell me that there is nothing, I'm ready to die for that shit. You show me some Christians that's ready to die for it.
Yeah.
They're not. But what I experienced was so real. And then a voice started to talk to me. And I called my mom. I said, Mom, I think I'm fucking going crazy. She goes, what's wrong, son? I said, Mom, there's this voice that's talking to me. She said, son, the voice has been talking to you your whole life. I said, who is it? She said, son, that's God. I said, well, if that's God, what he just told me that if I go back to doing the things that I've been doing in my past, that I was going to die or my son was going to die.
Wow.
Guess what? This is crazy. I have 3 dreams. My son is going to be killed. I didn't know my son was in college doing what he was doing. I ain't going to put his business out. But I said, son, come home. God told me he would be the best fighter in the world, and he would be undefeated. Go back 5 years when he was 5 years old. Listen to the interviews. I said, I have a son that's 5 years old. God told me he's going to be the best. That's why the whole Bellator got behind the prophesied. The whole spirit was like, wow. They tried to make me like I'm some freak. But in this time and era, it's not a freak by coincidence. It's the right time at the right time. Yeah. So you know what? Now that's when, once I was delivered, and I had a sexual addiction that I could not, man, I was molested as a child from probably 5 all the way up into 7. And being molested, I became really dark and spooky about these demons that were in me. But these monsters that were in me, I fed through sleeping with succubus. You know, the succubus spirit, the Goda, the demonic. It's a very powerful demon. And then right in the end, before I was delivered, I remember every girl that I was sleeping with was a witch. They would tell me, I'm a witch. I'm a witch. I'm like, what? Why am I attracting witches?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, no. We're in the middle.
I know you're in the middle.
What the hell? Oh, Jesus. I'm hanging on the edge over here.
I know.
I'm hanging on the edge.
I hope his phone didn't die. That would be the worst.
Oh, my God.
There he is. He's back.
Oh,
there he is.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
But anyway, long story short, man, I understood it really well. And I said, okay, if this is the path, give me insight on what I'm supposed to be doing. I've gotten over 50 people baptized. My gym is very spiritual, not religious at all, but very spiritual. My job is to help and give those who are in need that come from the walk that I came from. And I'm a living example that it is real. I brag about the murders, but not in a way of like I'm a tough guy, but I brag about the murders. Like if you sit down and talk to me, because people say, hey, man, you need to be careful when you talk about your past, especially the murders. I've got proof of every murder that I committed. Come get me. Take me to jail. But it was legal. I'm a self-defense guy. I never started nothing. I'm not a gangbanger. So don't talk to me about gangbanging. You know what I mean? I'm not some set. So if you want to rob me because I'm in the wrong neighborhood or I represent humanity and you like my car and you want to jack me and it didn't work out too well for you, then, you know, I'll stand my trials and the other stuff. Anybody that has had an abortion, it's murder. If you understand the relationship with God and what he gives when he gives us children, it is a gift. That gift is for us to bring that child up to serve God and to receive the blessings from doing those things. And this is where the big curveball comes around. Antonio is a man of God now, raising his children up to man of God. I have a great wife who supports everything that I do. My son is undefeated, who listens to his father and obedient to me. And so now he's able to reap the benefits and be a millionaire, and he ain't even 30.
Yeah.
Multi-millionaire.
What do you? What's your view on family then? Like.
Number one, family is number one, and that's one of the things that I admired about Mark Pavlich, regardless of whether they thought he was crazy or whether he did what he thought he was doing was right or wrong. He stood behind a principle of morals and integrity. And when you do that, regardless whether you're wrong or right to this guy, the base is solid. And so imagine a lot of American men were brought here as slaves. We were sold by our own, and some of us were kidnapped, and some of us were brought here illegally. But we were brought here as slaves. We were denied rights. We were denied our religion. We were denied our culture. We were denied our last name. We were denied our heritage. We were denied our ancestors. So imagine we're denied our fathers. Yeah. And they separated the children. The Jews, a lot of the Jews had parts to do this. See, I became a really whack job because I started to realize I'm in a system that perpetuates systematic racism. And it's against me, and I didn't even know it. I'm doing it. I don't like black people. How can you be as dark as me and not like black people? Why do I not like dark people? Because every time I turn on the television, I'm watching a black man go to jail. Every time I see something, it's a gang black shooting. Every time I go somewhere, it was a black guy that did this. It was a black guy that did this. And then when I go to the good shows, here comes Superman and Tarzan.
They're white.
They rule the world. They're the right thing. And you wonder why I'm upset with being black? I didn't even know I was being programmed through social media networks and fake propaganda.
Yeah.
Because they don't show the wine fields of the world. They don't show the sick freaks. You know, they only protect them. But me, I'm on Front Street. So this is when you separate and break these families up, especially a black family. When you take a black father out of the home, you just destroyed that generation. Yeah. Look at the success of black fathers that stayed in the home. Yeah. Look at their children.
Yeah. Well, some of the stats are incredible of any family without a father versus a family with it is mind blowing. Everyone should look those numbers up because
you imagine coming here. I take you, put you over here. I take your wife and send her down the street to my partner, and then I separate your kids and send one over there, and then you get to hear about how your daughter's getting raped every day until you submit.
Yeah.
Man, this is a cold country. But at the same time, there's not a better place to live. See, I understand America, and she's guilty. She's guilty for her sins and what she's done. But I'm not the one that's going to hold her to judgment. That's God. Pay attention to what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah.
The United States is suffering.
Oh yeah, definitely. Antonio, if you were in a street fight and you had 4 people you could pick in your entire life, living or dead, which 4 people would you pick?
1, my son.
Good choice.
2, Rampage Jackson.
Oh, wow.
3, Chuck Liddell.
Wow.
4, Tyron, but the old Tyron, not the new Tyron.
You said it. You said it, man.
What do you think about that? What do you think about Tyron? Is it just to get paid? Like, what is that?
Listen, I trained Tyron Woodley, and I've been training him for about 15 years. I don't talk about
the purpose,
the people that I train and what their downfalls are because they know what their downfalls are. And it's not my job to put their business in social media because I connect with them on a spiritual level. As a man of God, I will say this. You went from being a child of God to a rap star talking about I'll beat your ass. You're God's Tyron Woodley, the chosen one, and you've chosen to make the wrong decisions in life, which have set you back spiritually. Yeah. Not saying that he's not going to be what he's been put here to be, but he's going to have to go through some things, and now he's being humbled the way I see it. Yeah. Being humbled, and I think he's still got it in him. He got to get this right.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It seems like that. Everyone says it seems like something's not right.
Yeah.
Well, when you're in spiritual warfare, trust me, bro, I went through it, and that's a bigger war than anything physical that can happen to you.
Yeah, that is.
If you believe in God, but yet you're living and serving the devil, the conflict is within yourself.
Yeah,
correct.
And you got to deal with all that, and
then the guilt.
Yeah.
And then the mother, the lack of father.
Yeah.
Yep.
We raised by all women. Like, this can get real crazy here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To where he loses it. And like I said 5, 10, 15 years ago, I said blacks need reparation. The last 3 years, I said, no, guys, we're in big trouble. Blacks need counseling. Yeah. We are systematically, psychologically messed up. And we're in the worst conditions and extreme situations. And we think it's okay. We think it's okay. It's okay. No big deal. Why? Because we've been living this our whole life and most of our existence here in America. Yeah, so we don't know anything different. It took Mark Pavlich, it took you to tell me it's wrong for a man to put a knee on a man's neck for 9 minutes.
Of course.
And he's not a threat. It took you to tell me that because I grew up seeing it every day.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
Now, the sad part is, where's my religion?
I grew up seeing that in Detroit. I saw that on a daily basis. And I tried to explain to people when it was happening, minutes and minutes before he was dying, George Floyd. I told people he's killing him. And people were like, no, he's not killing him. He's killing him, right? And people are like, well, that's what we saw on television. But you understand, 35, 40 years ago, there was no television sets when I was watching it. No. I watched that scene. I watched George Floyd's scene 40 times in my life. I'm not even exaggerating. I've seen it so many times, and you can yell and scream, and until it takes, the only thing that could have helped George Floyd that day, everybody, here's the news flash. A white person needed to tackle the cop. White person. You know why? Because white person tackles the cop. Yes, he gets kind of arrested, but if a guy like me comes along, like a professional white male comes along and says, hey, officer, get off him immediately, okay? And if he doesn't do it, I physically push the police officer. I take the charge. George Floyd's alive today. Here we go. You know what's funny? When you grow up in multicultural Canada, like I did, across from Detroit, Michigan, people didn't know the word. You know what's funny? When I moved to where I am now, and I would drive down the street, and someone would be hearing me listen to Dr. Dre, they would be like, why is that white guy listening to Dr. Dre? And then when I would know every song that Biggie Smalls ever sang, because that's what we grew up listening, you had no choice. That's just the way it was. You listen to Biggie Smalls. And so we were driving down the street, and people were like, Mark, why do you know this music? And how do you know this stuff? And I said, because I grew up in an area where there was 2 words that you knew. One was cracker, one was the N-word, and you dealt with that. You dealt with that, right? And you either figured out that the people that were with you, and when you came to my house, it was like, even to this day, it was multicultural. Like, my kids never had they had black friends, white friends, Hispanic friends. My kids today did, right? And because that's how we grew up, when we were growing up. But the majority of people in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada don't grow up that way. They don't. It's white. Right. It's very different, right?
Antonio, what's the answer then? How does this start to shift? Because it isn't going to happen overnight, obviously.
Definitely not.
Right. Well, this is the scary part, is that I really believe that white people in America are afraid that know what happened. I believe that they're afraid that what happened to us is going to happen to them. Mm-hmm. And I believe they manipulate us economically with money. Money means nothing. But why should you have better medical care because you make more money than me? Why should this doctor get paid more money? We need to really adopt a lot of the Canadian ways. Now, remember.
With that, I agree.
After the war, where did the slaves go? They went to Canada. Mm-hmm. Why? Because that was a place where they said, listen, you guys are in America. You're never going to be treated right. The Constitution doesn't support you. You're not even considered to be a human being.
Right.
Yeah.
So you probably should go up to Canada, and this is why you have a lot of Africans and, you know, a lot of blacks in Canada was because they fled there. Now, I'm extremely educated across the globe about religion, about politics, about history. I have nothing to do but to think of how to make a change. I end up dead as a black man if I stand up for humanity, not just black, not just Mexican, but if I stand up for unfairness economically to equal out, like make it a little bit of balancing. I don't know. Look, me, I got money now, and let me tell you what I do. I can't keep it. You know why? Because I'm constantly helping somebody. I'm constantly doing something with my charity, giving to some children, feeding the homeless, mentoring. I don't understand why we can't have every American that works a job take money from the state and put it towards the rehabilitation of sick America and put programs together
what
for
a great
the sick people, because the medical condition now of the Afro-American man is going to be crazy the next generation that's coming. One, they all smoke
too much.
Why? So they can get it kills the drive, it takes away all your pain. But what it does spiritually is it affects the pineal gland.
Yeah.
And if you understand how important the pineal gland is, oh my gosh, these Negroes don't dream anymore. They have no ambition, no drive, the serotonin from sleeping. They don't understand that long-term dementia, short memory loss, schizophrenia, bipolar. There's a thing called, when you smoke so much, it's psychosis from smoking weed. Your body doesn't break down the THC, and then you become and now you're starting to see this mental issue happen where they took billions of dollars off the program for mental. And now you're starting to hear about all the shootings. Oh, that guy was mentally disabled.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy was crazy. There's no programs. So I think United States is self-sabotaging because they are fighting against God and his way.
I'm down with all this.
I love it.
Hey, I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it today, because you know what's funny? A lot of people that have came on our show from the NFL, NHL, but it's funny. MMA guys, a few guys have came on. They haven't really opened up. But I like a few things that you said. I love a few things that you said on this show today that I'm going to replay this show till I drop dead, because there's some things that you said on this show today are so profound that the thing you mentioned about abortion, and the thing that I believe in all this stuff too, but when I say it, I'm castrated by the world by saying that. But don't ask my opinion, because I'm not going to give it to nobody anymore. That's what I've learned now, because I fall in that demographic. So unless we're on the show like this talking, then it's different. But if someone asks my opinion, the first thing I say is, oh no, I don't have an opinion on that anymore.
But we can play rap music that every other word is nigga this, nigga that, nigga this.
What do you think? Yeah, what about that? Like, I mean, that's something that we always wonder about.
Please.
Okay, the N-word. Let them say it. Who gives a shit? Now you have all these pro-blacks, but what are they doing? They're not in the low-income communities helping these children, helping these mothers as single parents.
Never.
They're not doing this stuff. So why are we so concerned about don't say the N-word? Let me tell you, first of all, you got to know where the word came from. It is a powerful king from Egypt. It's Nagut. It's like a Nagua. It's a different way to pronounce it. I don't know exactly the syllables and how you pronounce it. But when the Spanish came over and the Europeans, because a lot of people don't know, the Spaniards were getting busy. They didn't fuck around. When they came over, we referred to each other because they came over at the highest level. We were referring to each other as Naguts.
Yeah.
But they couldn't speak the same dialogue. So their language was more like a slang language to the Egyptians. So they would say nigga. And that's what it became. But then in America, it became a very bad thing. Why? Yeah. Only because they murdered and killed so many blacks. It's like if you had a word for Jews.
Yeah.
Because of the slaying of Jews.
That's
and
right.
That word, even the actual Hitler sign, the Nazi, all that, before that. But if you had a word that called them Judah. Yeah. But Judah really meant bragging about the killing of all the Jews.
The Jews, yeah.
Would they allow it to be on all the networks and played every day?
Never.
Every year.
Never.
Watch a slave movie every year. A new slave movie comes out about
It's
how
true.
we were done. Why are you so constantly to throw this rhetoric out for the world to be entertained by it? But show me some great movies about Hitler and how great he was and all the things. Now I get blackballed. Now I get talked about. But I'm asking for fairness here. Look, we beat up enough, man. They've done enough. We're tired now, bro. We're tired. We just want to be normal. We want to work. Some of us that don't want to work, fine. Let them be disabled and in the streets. Harsher sentence for those who get caught red-handed killing, because I've seen the police set up a lot of good people that were doing what I was doing, but I wasn't conforming to the political side. I'm not Muslim. So now that I'm not radical Islam Muslim, I don't have protection. So it's easy to say, oh, Antonio McKee robbed somebody, dropped some dope and said he was selling drugs. This is how we got everything. But no, I've got every receipt and every bank statement, every check that was ever given to me from the 80s to today. I can pull it up. And the only thing they can say is, well, Negro, you lied about your taxes.
Yeah. But tell me this. When did you get, this is on the lighter note, when did you become so damn handy? Like, I'm watching you on Instagram and you're like, I'm like, what does this guy not know how to do? Like, you're sitting there, like putting a pergola. I had to look up the word pergola. And, and you're like,
what a nice pergola.
Yeah, well, he's doing a pergola, and I'm like, what the hell is a pergola? I had to ask my wife; she knew. And I'm watching you do that, and I'm like, this is incredible. Like, you're doing this stuff yourself.
Man, I rebuilt my whole house. I built a McKee mansion.
How did you do this?
I just grew up in the ghetto, and the white people would come and buy houses, and they would turn the houses into HUD homes and Section 8 them out to the government. But they would keep breaking into houses and stealing all the accessories out. So this particular white guy said, hey, I'm going to pay you for security. His wife made me strawberry pies, and every Friday they would give me some money and strawberry pies to make sure no one stole the refrigerator, the microwave, the dishwasher out of the house. So I started watching the house for him, and I used to just sit and watch, and he says, hey, you want to help me? And then he starts showing me stuff.
Wow.
And then I learned. Right. Wow. And then I went into the electrical business. I ran GFIs and ran the wires. Yeah. I learned. Wow. And then next thing you know, I'm an electrician, but I don't have a degree in anything. I'm a master of everything. I have access to do everything, but I mastered nothing. Yeah. I own a stereo shop. I self-taught myself how to do car audio. I could literally build a house. I'm the kind of guy you throw out in the middle of the woods and say, make it back. Guess what? You want to be with, excuse my language, I know y'all don't like it, but you want to be with a nigga like me.
Couldn't resist. You couldn't resist it.
I tried, Mark. I held out for a long time.
You tried. I know, but you did.
I'm calling myself that.
You held out. Yeah. You held out a very long time. I listened, like literally 50-something minutes into the interview. You finally.
Were waiting, though.
I was like, he's gonna pop. He's gonna pop. To our lovely sponsors, he means that in the most
in kingmanship, in brotherhood, in loyalty, in integrity. Like, you are my. I ain't gonna say it again.
Yeah. No, please don't.
Like I told you, Mark, you my.
Yeah.
Even when things didn't go right, I still was just a professional man. Yeah. I said, hey, stop. Hey, cut it out. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Man.
So what happened?
What happens
now? What happens now?
Yeah.
What happens now? But I'm saying is, let's go. You are prospering in life right now with the body shop, with your sons, your wife, home. Everything is prospering. Everything is prospering for you, and rightfully so, because it sounds cliche-ish, but hard work does pay off. And that's one thing I know. That's one thing I know about you, and no one can take that away. I know you're an obsessive hard worker. I know that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, obsessive. So what is next? Like, what is going to be the next thing now? Because now you got your own promotion. The
legacy. I don't even care about promotion. I just want to help people. I want fighters to understand. I want white America to not see me as a black man, but to see me as a man. I don't want to be seen as a black man. I don't want to be seen as a color. I want to be seen as a human being.
Yeah.
And I want to be treated with that respect by the way I conduct myself. Not by the way, this is why I don't sag. I don't walk around my drawers hanging out my ass. I mean, I do things accordingly. Yeah. I try to be what I want my daughter to bring home to me
Nice.
and introduced me as her man.
Yeah. How many
Because,
kids
see,
now?
I don't
How many
have a
kids now? How many kids? I got to write it down. Wait, how many kids now altogether? I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down. Come on.
Okay.
How many total?
Biological
That
I know of, 4 or 5. 4.
4 or 5. Okay, 4.5. 4.5.
4,
Okay.
4 something like it. But I jumped into relationships with 2 or 3 kids and became stepdads to like 8 or 9 others outside of my 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're all doing tremendously well. Some of them are starting to suffer from PTSD. They went to the military. The other ones are starting to fall through depression from smoking so much weed. Psychosis kicks in, and they just can't get it together. But I really lead a powerful mentoring program for men that are lost.
Good.
And I deal with some gangsters that just got out 25 years, 30 years. When they went down, we were 12. We're 13, 15.
Wow.
They're just getting home at 45, 50.
Wow.
And they come to me.
How bizarre is that?
It's crazy. It's kind of scary.
It is scary.
Because they have a different mindset.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I jeopardize my family by bringing that around. But through my faith and spirituality of believing that what I'm doing and the messages that I'm receiving, I call it the antenna, man. It's the God antenna. You know, if you drink, you smoke, you fornicate with women, you cheat on your wife, you do all these things. You know, I can leave my phone, and my wife can have my phone for the whole day. Do you know how good that feels?
Yeah.
Yes.
To know that I'm not cheating. Before, I never was faithful to any woman I've ever been with. I didn't know whether I was going to get a call saying I'm pregnant or I gave him chlamydia or gonorrhea or something. Ain't no telling. I mean, I was poking everything, and that's why when I respectfully fought for MFC, I would lock myself into the hotel to suppress that monster. Mark was like, hey, come on out, have a good time, enjoy yourself. I'm like, Mark, you don't understand. I have a problem.
Yeah.
The night before the fight, Mark, I was banging all night long. I ain't got no legs. You guys are wondering why I'm shooting and falling all on the ground. My legs are gone. My wife she was something different, you know, my first wife. But God bless her, you know, she gave me what I needed to grow. And that's why I'm able to be her friend to this day and still be a great dad, because I took my children and I laid the foundation down. I don't think I was the father that I would like to have been, but the amount of time and money and management that I had, I think I did a good job.
Yeah. There you go.
Well,
but I learned a lot from you, Mark, believe it or not.
Oh, appreciate it.
I watched you like a hawk and you didn't even know.
I did not
Still
know.
Can't dance for shit, though.
Well, I am a good dancer. That's not true. That's not true. Everybody knows I can jam.
Mark,
Come on.
that's not dancing, Mark.
Shame on you. Shame on you,
Hey,
man.
Mark, that's
Shame
not
on you for saying that on the show, man.
Hey,
that's not true.
Mark was pop locking.
Antonio, thank you so much for spending an hour with us.
Thank you.
You're an amazing man, and we really appreciate your wisdom that you shared with us on the show, and I just encourage everyone to follow you and
definitely,
and obviously your son's career and
you know what? That's what I told my son. It's gonna take time, son. You got to win the people. You win the people, you win the prize.
It's over.
It's not gonna happen overnight.
No,
they're watching you right now. They're really trying to figure you out, son. Keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to go be ghetto and talk shit about this and that and talk about people. Just keep doing what you're doing and just keep telling them. Keep reminding them, I am the best fighter in the world. And I will continue to say it. Mark will continue to say it. Now you will continue to say it. And people will say this is the best fighter in the world. And his attributes and his things that he are supposed to receive, it will come. He's young. He's 26 years old.
Yeah.
He still can fight
that's right.
35.
Yeah.
Oh, he set up here first.
Yeah.
Everything else is going to fall into place.
Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
The Rams.
I think so,
there
too.
It is.
I think so.
It's been set up that way. This ain't, look, man, what you see is no longer a visual. What you hear, don't even think it's real. This stuff is operating differently now. Come on, we build a stadium in LA and all of a sudden. Hey, Mark, the jig is up.
Yes, it's kind of ironic how that happened.
Isn't it? Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I watched Marshawn Lynch. One year they should have gave him the ball to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, remember that?
I'm a Seahawks fan, so.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, that told me something there. It's not about winning. It's about we control, we're the power.
Yeah.
And besides, it's a non-profit organization anyway. Who's taking this shit serious? Hey, You Negroes running up and down the field. This is charity for us. It's hard work to do, but it's charity for us. Make me the president. I'll fix all this.
Oh, for sure. Could you imagine?
That would be awesome. Antonio, thanks so much for joining us. Have yourself a great rest of your evening.
Hey, God bless you, man. Thank you for having me on the show, Mark. As always, you made me sexy, and I'm getting sexier.
Thanks
awesome,
so
bro.
much.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Antonio McKee, man, I told you, you cannot blink when he's on the show. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Man, that was great. Well, hey, when you have people that've been where he's been, they're gonna have some. They're gonna have some stories. They're gonna have some insight that others don't have. So, thank you so much for joining us, Antonio. Thank you so much, Crystal Glass, for being one of our sponsors. Thanks. If you ever have a glass issue, what do you do, Mark?
You call 310 Glass or go to crystalglass.ca for all your glass needs.
There you are. Well, Super Bowl's coming. We still got more games left.
We do, and last week was fantastic. I mean, like
the only other game that was crazier was the Seattle Seahawks when they beat Green Bay, and that crazy
I remember
game.
That was crazy.
That was nuts.
Yeah.
That one was nuts. But the one last night with the Bills and the Chiefs. Now they have to change the rule. They have to.
I agree.
You can't. The person that wins a coin flip has a 60% chance to win. That's too much.
I was yelling heads too. It was so funny. I was telling Bill's Mafia, I was like, call heads. And they called tails, and it was heads, and that's it. I always believe, even in a game this magnitude, that both of you get a crack no matter what. Yeah. So you both get a crack no matter what. Whatever happens,
or play
happens.
A quarter. Play a quarter.
Yeah, whatever. Exactly.
Or something like that way, and then you can talk about sudden death. But
this is the NFL. I mean, you think they would have got it worked out by now, but
no,
that
they don't know what a pass interference call is.
Yeah, and they still don't. And that shifty prick that's the commissioner of the league, he's I don't get it, but.
Well, hey, good show.
Great show. I knew it was going to be kooky, and I knew because Antonio McKee's Antonio McKee, but I'm not joking, Jesse. I always thought he was crazy until I seen what he did with his kids, and then it's you. When you look at your children, it's always a reflection of you, or your wife, or your wife. And when I seen what he's done with his children, it's truly incredible. So that's. I would consider him now on the genius side with a little bit of crazy.
Hey, when this is, another 10 years from now, they could look back and say, hey, Antonio McKee changed the game of MMA.
Yeah, really? Because his son.
Yeah, he's figured something out.
His son is on another planet, and when you don't even get hit ever in fights, and you've won every fight 17-0, 18-0, and he's made people look ridiculously stupid. And we've had AJ on our show, and when we said he was the best 145er on the planet, people were literally flaming us. And now it doesn't look like we're being flamed. And our guest also this last weekend just fought
Cyril Gann.
For Cyril Gann, and went 5 rounds with probably the scariest human on the planet. And went 5 rounds with him and did quite.
Not he was how I thought it was gonna go.
I mean, either, but he was in the mix, and Cyril Nagano doesn't go the distance with fighters. So
no, that's a credit to him, to be honest.
Yes.
To go that deep, because that favored Cyril every second it went longer.
Oh, I totally agree.
Well, Mark, that's Mark Pavlich.
Yes,
I'm
it is.
Jesse Martineau. Thanks so much, Antonio, for joining us. Way cooler than Antonio Brown.
Oh.
Yeah. Antonio was going to be on the show, and then we said no.
No, we get Antonio McKee is way cooler than Antonio Brown. Yeah. There's no question. No question. And would whoop.
Oh, not even
Antonio Brown with one arm.
But no, seriously, that was great, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and until next week, we'll see you. This has been the Me and Jesse podcast. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/meandjesse.